A warm welcome. This is episode 192 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. We are back after a 4-month hiatus. I've obviously had Rob Van Dam on the show. I've had Jacques Rougeau, the Mountie on, but I've got another guest as we head into the festive period, and it's longtime wrestler, promoter, and pro wrestling historian, Greg Anthony, all the way from Tennessee. The golden boy, Greg Anthony, might I add.
How's it going, everybody?
All good, man. All good. Greg, I'd like to ask you about the first time you encountered pro wrestling before becoming a performer, of course. When did you first see pro wrestling?
So, I've told this several times, but like my earliest memories of life aren't of, a birthday cake or a new bike or anything like that. It's of professional wrestling. It's sitting on my grandmother's knee, watching professional wrestling. So, for me, literally my earliest memory is maybe sitting there watching Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson and that whole Mid-Atlantic, Crockett crew,
Amazing. Like, I didn't get to see all this over here, but obviously going back, delving through those times, the territories, of course. It's been a treasure trove for me personally, but you guys got everything over there. Yeah. It wasn't until years later that we had it, because all I knew was WWE and WCW as a youngster in the 90s, when I started watching. So just amazing.
Yeah, I was originally from Southern Illinois. I was originally from Southern Illinois, and like in Southern Illinois, we got WWF, we got Crockett, and then we got World Class out of Texas. with the Von Erichs and everybody. And then when I was 6 years old, we moved to Tennessee. And, Saturday morning after cartoons, I'm flipping through the channels and I see Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, what's this? And I was introduced to Memphis wrestling. And it was just one of those things like, I always loved the territories because everything was so different. You know what I mean? Like, even though it was we always talk about the ice cream analogy, like wrestling is basically ice cream. There's chocolate, there's vanilla, there's strawberry. There's a flavor for everyone. You know what I mean? And that's what the territories really were. They were the perfect thing of ice cream. Now we get into today's wrestling, and, a lot of it is still ice cream, but then there's some times when you order ice cream and they try to feed you sushi, which is like when you get into the Joey Ryans and the people wrestling blow up dolls and things of that nature. To me, that's not wrestling. But in the territories, it was all ice cream. It was all wrestling, but there were so many different flavors that you could go and you could really, whatever really connected with you the best, you could find.
What do you think in terms of the product these days? I know, obviously, researching you and what you're into and how you've booked and stuff like that, you're very much into the traditions of pro wrestling. And, I can tell that a mile off. And obviously, I've had Herb Simmons on this show earlier on in the year.
Yeah,
I know he's a purveyor of that as well, keeping the old school alive. Now, modern product gets bashed to buggery, as we would say in the UK. That would be our way of saying it. But how do you feel? How do you feel with it? And can we get it back as a whole to the old school, to the retro times? Or is it just the way the business has gone now?
Well, for me, it's, sometimes I get, the misconception that I'm grumpy Greg. You know what I mean? Like I hate everything new. Like I only watch wrestling from 1985 and before, things like that. The truth of the matter is I do like some things that happen in modern wrestling, but like I said, I want it to be wrestling. And I think sometimes wrestling, we've moved it so far away from the core of what we are that the further away we get, the less it looks like wrestling. You know what I mean? Basically, for me, what I want is whatever you do, I want it sold. You know what I mean? I want people to sell what's actually happening. I don't like this superhero video game style where nothing hurts. Because if you've ever been in a professional wrestling ring, you know that it does hurt. You know what I mean? And we're getting to the point now where a guy takes a German suplex, and German suplexes hurt. I don't care what anyone says. You know what I mean? And they're getting to the point to where they take a German suplex, and not only do they not sell it theatrically, but they don't sell it for what it really is. They actually like cringe themselves and like, I'm not going to act like this hurts. You know what I mean? And it does hurt. So it's mind numbing to me when something like that happens. But I do love professional wrestling. There are guys that are, Roman Reigns obviously is head and shoulders above a lot of guys right now. And there's just Gunther, there's a lot of guys that do a lot of great things. Chad Gable's another guy that seems to be a favorite to everyone I talk to. I mean, there's guys that can go. And my thought process is on professional wrestlers, if I can take you and I can put you in a time machine and I can drop you in any era in professional wrestling and you still work, you can still do what's necessary. You know what I mean? That's a real professional wrestler. You understand? But if I take you and you only work in 2024, you wouldn't even work in 2007. You know what I mean? Like you're too whatever for then I don't like that. If that makes any sense.
That does, of course. And yeah, you're not grumpy, Greg, because you've explained about the modern guys that you like. Yeah. So yeah, you allowed your opinion and the amount of years you've been in the business as well, and I know how highly you're thought of by people within the industry as well. So yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to me. I'm a fan. I've never got in the ring, but as you're saying, no selling maneuvers. That's been an issue for years now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Massively. Yeah, I mean, like of course we've had no selling throughout the years, but it was always reserved for like when Ric Flair would suplex Sting. You know what I mean? And Sting would jump up and be like, oh, and Flair would be posing, but Sting would be up behind him, and we had that great crowd reaction now. And now we're doing it to where guys are taking Canadian destroyers, you know what I mean? And they're actually trading Canadian destroyers like they're punches. But then, neither one of them are selling the Canadian destroyer, and then the crowd isn't making any noise at all. So who wins that battle? You know what I mean? So the bottom line is, if you're not selling, they're not buying.
Perfectly put. Now, obviously, going back to you personally, getting your start in the business, multi-time champion in the NWA, of course, in that incarnation, not the incarnation that we see today, but I know you were heavily involved, with the NWA for years. You were national heavyweight champion, of course. But yeah, getting your start initially and just learning the business. How was that for you all them years ago?
So, I say before, like, God has blessed me and he's put me in the right positions to do certain things. And he used professional wrestling to save my life physically and spiritually. We'll probably get to that a little later. But for me getting started, just like the Hardys and just like so many other people, we were doing backyard wrestling. Me and a bunch of buddies were doing backyard wrestling, and Memphis Championship Wrestling was a developmental territory for the WWE at the time, and they were coming to our hometown of New Bern, Tennessee once a month, and they were drawing about 30 people. And this is when they had William Regal. They had R-Truth, who was K-Crush at the time. They had Daniel Bryan, who was still just the American Dragon under the mask. They had all Shawn Michaels' students, Lance Cage, Shooter Schultz, Brian Kendrick, that whole crew. You know what I mean? Like, the Reckless Youth, who was, one of my favorites of all time, they had, this crew was amazing. And they were drawing about 30 people a month to my hometown. And like my buddy, his dad was a cop in our hometown, and he went to Terry Golden, who was the promoter, and said, hey, listen, my son and some of his friends are trying to break in the business. Can you help them? Right. So he had us come down, and he saw what we could do. You know what I mean? And he said, okay, well, next month I'll put you guys on an intermission match. Right. So we went around for a month in our hometown, basically saying, hey, we're professional wrestlers. We're going to get to wrestle. Blah, 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 this. And, we showed up to the next month, and there was 200 people at this show. And all of a sudden, intermission match wasn't necessarily intermission match. Intermission match was semi-main event. You know what I mean? And we went out there and we did what we did looked okay, but we had no psychology at all. No one had really smartened us up to a lot of that kind of stuff. and we weren't even allowed to dress in the locker room with everyone. We had our own separate locker room away from everyone, right? But like after we did what we did, a lot of people came up to us and they were complimentary. They told us William Regal came up to us both and was like, he told me, because I was kicking out like Ric Flair. Everything was a 1-2, like that little shoulder up thing. Every count on me was like that. So William Regal came up to me and he's like, but when you bloody kick out. You know what I mean? Don't blood kick out. So I always took that to heart. And then Reckless Youth was actually the only one that came to us before our match. And he came over and said hi and said, hey, listen, guys, I'm just glad you're getting the business. Good luck to you. That kind of thing. It was really, really super nice to us. And then, we just had a lot of good feedback. And we did that for several months until Memphis Championship Wrestling ended up losing their developmental deal. And then we caught on with a local company. And that's when we really started training and working and training and just being more consistent.
Could you feel yourself improving at that time as well in yourself? How did you feel personally about yourself and how you were getting on?
Oh, it was, I loved professional wrestling my whole life, but like they would do things and they would say things and it was just like, it would blow my mind. Like I had never thought of that before. Like I remember one of my first matches I had, once we got away from Memphis Championship Wrestling, I worked a guy he'd been working probably 10, 12 years at the time. And I locked up with him. And instead of him saying, push me to the corner, he locked up with me and he just walked backwards to the corner. But it made it look like I was pushing him to the corner. And and that clicked like, oh, okay. Now I'm starting to get this dance routine kind of thing. I'm starting to understand what's going on. And just like little stuff, like I knew, that a baby face, was always, on top in the beginning of the match. And then then all of a sudden he got his butt beat for a little bit and then he made a big comeback and stuff like that. But then someone actually said the words shine, heat, comeback, finish, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they have names. They have, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I loved about wrestling is like, I loved it so much as a kid, loved it so much before I ever got in the ring and before I ever got to do it. And then all of a sudden I get in it and this whole other world opened up to me as to where, okay, now I know how, I have to know why we do this and how we do this and what's the trick behind this and that. And why do we do it like this and not this way? And I just became this sponge that just wanted to know more and more and more and more and more. And I got a really good reputation early on because I would put together my match with my guy, and then I would go sit with all the other matches and just listen to them, their thought process and how they did things. And like eventually, after doing that for a while, someone would go, well, hey, what would you do here? And then I would get to put my 2 cents worth in. And they go, that's a really good idea. And like I got a reputation as someone that had a mind for the business early on. So it was just a learning process from the beginning. And to this day, I still love hearing, even though he's, passed away now, Kevin Sullivan, for instance, him talk about certain things, or I love hearing Cornette talk about breaking things down. I love hearing people's thought process on certain things. Of course, I have my own set, views and vision point now, but I mean, at the same time, I love hearing people's thought process in general.
Amazing. No, great. And I should say the great Kevin Sullivan there as well. For him to be taking notice of you in that respect is all amazing. High praise indeed. Now, you tagged with the late, great Bobby Eaton. I've been doing my research. I've been having a look. And I know hearing you on other podcasts, of course, talking about how much you loved Bobby Eaton. So to get into tag with him, and you became Midnight Gold as well with him. So yeah, just your experiences with him and the couple of years you got to tag with Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, to preface it, let me just say that Bobby Eaton was like one of my heroes growing up. Like I said, when I lived in Illinois, we got Crockett and WWF and World Class. So Bobby being part of the Crockett crew, I always loved Bobby. I was always drawn to those seamless Southern heels, the Bobby Eatons, the Ric Flairs, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Ted DiBiase, that kind of mold of professional wrestler. So Bobby was one of my idols growing up. And then we got to a point to where Bobby was moving to Arkansas to live with Brian Thompson, who is his legitimate manager, like his legitimate business manager. And the idea was, well, Bobby wants to tag with a kid in Arkansas, and he wants to tag with a kid in Tennessee, and then that way he can give the rub to two kids and go from there. Well, they picked one guy from Arkansas, and they ended up picking me for Tennessee. And then all of a sudden, the guy in Arkansas, someone got in his ear. Somebody said something to him, but somebody told him basically it wasn't a good idea for him to start tagging with Bobby. I don't know whose brilliant idea that was, but he ended up dropping out. And when they told me he dropped out, I was like, I'll do both. I wrestle in Arkansas quite a bit anyway, so I can make those bookings, and I can make the Tennessee bookings, and we'll just do everything. So then it became just my opportunity, and what Bobby taught me was he put a lot of confidence in me. He often called me the captain of Midnight Gold. I would go and I would put together the matches, and then I would go back to Bobby and say, okay, this is what we're thinking of doing. And, most of the time he just, okay. And then sometimes every once in a while he'd say, okay, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it this way? Or why are we doing this? And then I would explain why in my thought process, why we were doing it. And he'd go, okay, makes sense. And we would do it. Brian Thompson there, that's, like I said, our manager, he was our cornet. Us three together, to me, it was a perfect storm. You know what I mean? Like it was a perfect combination of everybody. Me and Brian were close too. And then him and Bobby were best friends. And they lived together for, probably 10 years, I'd say. But, Bobby just instilled a lot of confidence in me. The great thing about Bobby, and I try to tell this story as much as I can, is we tagged together for 2 years, and the entire time we tagged together, he would not allow me to be pinned. I did not lose a single match for Midnight Gold. Every pin that Midnight Gold took, Bobby Eaton took willingly. And then promoters and bookers sometimes would go, yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we want to beat Greg. And Bobby would go, we're not beating Greg, we're beating me. You know what I mean? He would just, it's not happening. And he would tell me that this Midnight Gold thing, it was for me. It was for me to finally get the rub and the recognition that he thought I deserved. So my whole trajectory of my career changed when I started tagging with Bobby Eaton. And, one time we were talking on the phone, and we were talking about just wrestling in general, and then we kind of had a pause for a minute. He goes, Greg, I don't want you to be upset about the way the business is now, because if this was 1985, you'd be with us and you'd be a star. You know what I mean? And that was a huge compliment for me, because that's who I grew up watching. That's who I always wanted to be. And, it is a tough business now in 2024. I make a living at it, but it's very tough for me to make a living in 2024 as an independent professional wrestler. You know what I mean? But Bobby was basically saying, hey, listen, no matter what time period you would have been in, you would have been okay. And the thing about Bobby is he was considered one of the greatest in-ring talents of all time. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is he was a better person. And that says a lot. He was one of the nicest guys, hands down, there's ever been. And I don't think anyone has a bad word to ever say about Bobby Eaton. And matter of fact, the last time I talked to him, his wife had passed away. Donna had passed away, and I called him. And I was trying to comfort him. I was trying to ask him questions and stuff like that. And all he wanted to do was ask me about my family and my show and my stuff going on. He completely turned it around on me, So like I said, he was an amazing person. I miss him a lot because, he was a wrestling fan, and he loved wrestling. He loved wrestlers, and he wanted to see the business flourish. And I know if he was still around today, he would be immensely proud of myself and Pro Wrestling Mid-South and a lot of the guys that he knew from this area.
Would it be wrong of me to say he was underappreciated considering how good he was? Because am I wrong? Am I wrong there?
I don't think he's underappreciated to professional wrestlers, because we all know, anyone that ever met Bobby or knew him or worked with him, when they start talking about the greatest in-ring wrestlers of all time, he's one of the first names gets brought up. You know what I mean? But when fans start talking about him, he gets lost in the shuffle because he didn't have the world title run. He wasn't, the main event, whatever kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, like, people talk about how Bobby couldn't cut a promo, and that's completely false, because if you go watch his early days before he had Cornette, he was cutting promos, and he was cutting good promos. And like, I asked him about it one time, and he told me, like, he's like, why would I talk? I've got I've got one of the greatest talkers ever in Jim Cornette. And then I've got Stan Lane, or I've got Dennis Condrey, two guys who could also talk. He said, why would I talk? So basically what he was doing is he was sacrificing that part of his professional wrestling for the betterment of the team. Why would each of them take, 15, 20 seconds when Cornette and the other guy could have 30 apiece? Bobby was just making that sacrifice for the team because he felt that it worked better. So, I think he's underappreciated as far as the wrestling fans go, but the wrestlers themselves, we know how good Bobby was.
To be thought of so highly by everybody, and not to hear a bad word said, because you hear it all the time. There's not many in the business where everybody, loves that person. But going back to what you said, that's quite an honor, isn't it? It puts, his stature where it is, and went too soon as well, didn't he, Greg?
Yeah, unfortunately, he had a bad heart and stuff like that, and I think when Donna passed away, that weared hard on him too. So, but you got it. Bobby was a Christian. He believed in God and believed in Jesus Christ, and I know he's in a better place. So I know he's not hurting anymore. And if heaven's like I think it is, then I'm hoping that I get to see a Bobby Eaton Brad Armstrong match again when I get there.
Amazing. That's perfectly segued there as well to talk about you being a Christian, your ministry as well. I'd love to hear more about that and about you finding God and what it means to you in day to day and things like that. Just coming away from wrestling a little bit. I'd love to hear about that and your journey with it.
So, I was born with no right arteries. So, and we didn't know this until I was, 36 years old. I was having chest pains when I wrestled. Of course, when you're that young, you don't really think, in denial wise, you don't think it's a heart condition. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what it was. It's high blood pressure. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. But it ended up being that I had no right arteries, and because I had no right arteries, basically I was more susceptible to getting blockages, and I ended up having 70% blockages in one area of my heart. Then I had a 90% blockage in my widowmaker, and I was wrestling 30 minutes a night with this. I was a breath away from a heart attack for probably about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, I'd say. And it's just one of those things. I have, my sons now are 17 and 15, but at the time, they were 10 and 8. You know what I mean? Or they were they were 10 and 8. So like, I was just worried to death, about, leaving my family and everything behind. And when you're at rock bottom like that, you kind of, please God, help me. That's kind of what it was. And I just felt so many people when Dave Meltzer had reported on it. A lot of people were, I posted about it, and just, I had thousands and thousands of people comment and post. And we had actually changed. I said, if you support me, please change your profile picture to this little golden heart that I had found. And a lot of people changed their profile picture to that little golden heart. And just the outpouring of prayers that came from that. You know what I mean? I felt the power of prayer kind of wash over me. And luckily I came out the other side of that okay. And like, I could have been like, oh, okay, I'm fine now. That kind of thing. But I really felt the power of prayer. And now that I look back on it now, I feel like more like I actually felt the presence of God. You know what I mean? Like I felt that he came and saved me for something. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what that was at the time. So, I tell everybody, just let Jesus, just let God in your life just a little bit. And that's what I did. Like, okay, you've got my attention now. I believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God and he died for our sins. And I he's my personal savior. I believe that. And then I started just having a daily prayer, which, you know, this, anytime you try to do something every day, you're going to miss some stuff's going to happen. You're going to forget whatever, but I tried to pray every day. And, that was, like I said, about 7.5 years ago. And just little by little, you know, God has been getting bigger and bigger in my life. When you let him in like that, you let him into your heart, like I said, I started doing a daily prayer. Then all of a sudden I want to get this app, that helps me pray and gives me a daily devotional kind of thing. So I did that. And then, you start praying during your meals, and then you start doing this, and you start, you feel kind of that inner peace kind of come over you a little bit. And I had an idea. I'm always the kind of guy that I want to be hands-on and I want to do things myself. I don't like having my, some of my things left up to other people. So I was trying to find a church for a while, and I never really could find one that I really felt was me or that fit, necessarily. So I came up with this idea for Genesis 32:24 Ministries, because Genesis 32:24 is the story of Jacob wrestling God on the mountain. And like when I was first in my, in my beginning days of being a Christian, I said, well, I wonder if wrestling's in the Bible. And I looked it up and I found that verse. You know what I mean? And that really, wrestling's in the Bible. You know what I mean? Like basketball's not in the Bible, football's not in the Bible, but wrestling is. It's odd that it is. So I clung to that verse a lot. So like I said, I created the ministry, and I was trying to find a pastor, and I just never could find a pastor or anything like that. And eventually I found a girl that I went to high school with, and I was telling her about my testimony. And I told her about Genesis 32:24, and she said her husband was wanting to pastor. They had been youth pastors for years, and he's wanting to become a head pastor. And we went to a lunch, and he said a lot of the things that God had been saying to me for the past several months, like word for word saying things. And I knew it was the right thing. So I'm the director of Genesis 32:24 Ministries, but he's the pastor. And what we do is we hold services every Sunday night at my wrestling building, and people come and worship. And like I said, we're a non-denominational, non-judgmental service. It's very rare to have a wrestling church. You know what I mean? And I think that, when Jesus was on this earth, he wasn't hanging out with the Pharisees or the church folks. He was down hanging out with the prostitutes and the thieves and stuff like that, because those are the people that needed help, right? So kind of the same principle, like, hey, there's people out here that need help and they're not going to church. Maybe they're going to wrestling. So we're gonna give them some daily bread. We're gonna talk about God. We're gonna talk about religion. We're gonna try to give them some faith, and maybe they can, if they want to, they can come worship with us. And it's been just a life-changing thing, not just for me, but for my family and for the people in our company, because I hold prayer before each show now with the wrestlers. We our little bumper at the beginning of the show tells us, that we give all glory to God, that the show is all about giving glory to God. So it's been an amazing thing.
Just glad you're okay as well now. Are you having to go for checkups maybe once a year and stuff with it? What's the situation with that for you? If you don't mind me asking, it's a bit of a personal question. That
I found a really good cardio. Like anyone that's in wrestling knows, every time you go to a doctor, the first thing they say to you is, "Hey, quit wrestling." It's kind of like the overall thing. Well, what's wrong with you? Oh, you do that. Oh, you need to quit wrestling. Then that'd probably help. Well, I found a cardiologist that kind of understood that I'm not, some intramural softball player. I'm a professional wrestler, and that my health and my well-being is dependent on me being able to be a professional wrestler. So I go for checkups every 3 months, and he keeps eyes on my medicine, but he's 100% in support of me wrestling. So he makes sure that I'm in line so I can still do this. And it's been good. Like I said, that was 7.5 years ago. And there was, originally they thought I was going to have open heart surgery the first time around. And basically what they were able to do was they were able to give me basically open heart surgery without giving me open heart surgery. They went in and stented me and cleared me all out. And I was able to continue on my path. They thought I was going to have open heart surgery before I was 40. And now I'm 43 years old and I haven't had it. I had a scare a couple years ago where they said, okay, you've got a blockage in another main artery, and we're going to have to go in. If it's blocked this time, we can't stent you again. We're going to have to do open heart surgery. And I prayed, and my family prayed, and I just wanted it not to. I prayed for it not to be there. And then I went in for the heart cath for them to check it out. And then the guy doing the heart cath just kind of moved all the equipment away for a second, and he goes, "We didn't find anything." He said that even not only is the blockage not there that the other thing told us was there, but even there's supposed to be stenosis in your veins near your other stents. Even all that's healed. So he's like, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I know, I do. It's a miracle. So, so yeah, God has just been a constant work in my life, I believe.
Amazing. I'm just glad you're good, man. I'm glad you're good, and you got to carry on wrestling as well on top of that. So yeah, finding God, just amazing, and yeah, man, just good that you're okay after that scare many years ago.
Yeah, like I said, they keep me up to date. Like I go every 3 months and get blood work done and different scans and different things like that, just to make sure everything's going right, and everything's been going well. So God bless, and let's keep it going.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Now, there are 2 shows coming up this week for yourself, so I'd love you to promote them. You sent me over some flyers, posters, of course, loads of action going into Christmas, into the festive period. So please, yeah, promote the shows, promote away, Greg. This is what this show is about,
Yeah, Christmas Chaos. We do our big Christmas shows every year, and we have Christmas giveaways. We try to be a positive point on the community. So I'm taking on, actually, it's a champion versus champion, not title versus title, but champion versus champion. I'm taking on the Legends and Lions champion, Rob Danger. And of course, I'm the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion. Rob is, he's a young guy, but he's been wrestling for about 10 years. He's really good. He's really up and coming. So I know it's going to be a tough fight, but I have absolute faith in myself that I can get it done. But yeah, this Friday in Ripley, Tennessee, and there's Christmas giveaways, and I think they're giving away $100 door prize and all kinds of stuff. And the main event there is a number 1 contenders match for Rob Danger's Legends and Lions title. It's going to be big Cody Sawyer versus Game Time James Elliott. So it's going to be a good card for sure.
Amazing and cool within the community, of course. Christmas and that $100. Somebody's going to get a nice Christmas bonus on Friday evening, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we try to, like I said, we try to be a healthy part of the community and stuff like that. We want to get kids off the street. It's a Friday night in Ripley, Tennessee. We don't want them out roaming around. We want, hey, come watch some professional wrestling. Come watch, some good old fashioned good versus evil professional wrestling. And we've got a lot of great talent. We got the new tag team champions there. The Odd Couple themselves, Logan Hendricks and Chase Andrews, they're taking on Cameron Cohog and Jason Perez. So it's going to be a big night for sure.
Amazing. Then into Saturday as well. It's a double shot, Friday, Saturday. And then, again, Pro Wrestling Mid-South again. 'Twas the night. And it's a Christmas wrestling spectacular. So, yeah, plug away, Greg.
Yeah, same thing. Christmas giveaways, another $100 door prize. We do every Friday and every Saturday night. Every Friday in Ripley, every Saturday in Dyersburg, Tennessee. This is our big Christmas show, obviously. big main event too. You got two big guys, 300-pounders going head to head, and Cordell Roberts versus the Real Foot Saint, Brandon Ray, who's the former unified heavyweight champion. He's going to be going. He's the number one contender, so he gets his shot at the unified heavyweight title next week against Stud Powell. But we've also got up and comer Jason Perez. He's going to be taking on Peyton Pee Wee Pitts, who just lost the AIWF World Cruiserweight title. But he's trying to get back into the Southern Junior title picture here in Pro Wrestling Mid-South. And then we got the Uber Destroyer versus Game Time James Elliott. We've got Skyler is Psycho versus Big Cody Sawyer. And then we got Chase Andrews versus the Yellow Jacket. So it's another stat card. I'm going to be there, of course, helping the Christmas festivities as usual. So, I mean, yeah, same thing, Dyersburg. We're just part of the community. We're trying to be family-friendly, Christian-based, professional wrestling, trying to give people, something good and wholesome to go to. I tell people all the time, you can bring your 7-year-old daughter, or you can bring your 7-year-old grandmother to these shows, and they're not going to hear anything out of the way. So
amazing. And to be running every Friday and Saturday, that's testament to you and your crew and all the guys involved with the promotion, man. That's something, but especially in this day and age, a lot of promotions don't run. I hear about stateside, they wouldn't run that frequently, would they? So that's testament to you and all the guys working for you, man.
Yeah, we do every Friday and Saturday night. And then we also do birthday parties. We do spot shows at schools. We do about 125 to 150 events a year.
Amazing.
Just with Pro Wrestling Mid-South. And then, of course, as the AIWF World Champion, I get to travel some. So I've been in North Carolina, and I've been in Chicago and Southern Louisiana and Missouri and Arkansas and, everywhere in between. So, I mean, we stay busy, you know what I mean? And the goal of Pro Wrestling Mid-South is to be a legitimate territory. So, maybe one day we will be wrestling 5-6 nights a week. That's always kind of been the goal. So
hats off to you, man. Honestly, I truly mean that. It's great. I love all this, and hearing from you guys, where you're running and that it's doing well, man. That's the key, isn't it? That's the key thing, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, I was a huge fan of MPC's Young Rock, and we didn't get it. We didn't get it at the same time as Peacock. We got it on our UK channel over here. Months later, so I obtained it in an illegal manner because I couldn't. I wanted to watch it when it came out, when it had just dropped in America. We did get it subsequently later on, but I came to find out you were the legendary Dick Murdoch. You played Dick Murdoch in the show. I had Brett Azar. I had Cheeky Brett Azar on about 3.5 years ago now, man. So yeah, just I've got to ask Greg about Young Rock and working with Dwayne Johnson and all the guys, and the casting was amazing. They got the main cast so true to life, didn't they? It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody looked a lot like everybody. I mean, we got to thank Downtown Bruno, who's a personal friend of mine. He's we talk a couple times a week, but he was in charge of the Memphis story arc as far as getting people talent in the door to do that kind of thing. So myself and several of the people from Pro Wrestling Mid-South got to participate in Young Rock, and we got to be movie stars for a day. You know what I mean? Like it was very cool. There I am as legendary Dick Murdoch. I'm Dick Murdoch, but I'm like 8 inches shorter than Dick Murdoch was, but that's okay. But yeah, it was a great experience. We had our own trailer. We had everything going on. We had robes that we had on before as we're walking to set. All these producers are thanking us for our work, and it was just a fun experience. We're very grateful to be a part of it. A lot of people in the area, they were kind of, how wrestling gets. A lot of people were very jealous and, oh, we should have done this, or they had to be a part of this because it would make them look bad if they weren't a part of it, that kind of thing. And that wasn't the way we looked at it at all. Me and my crew, we were ecstatic to be a part of it. We were glad for the opportunity. We got paid very well to do it. And actually, I still get paid. Every once in a while, I'll get a residual check, from doing that. So, I mean, it's a great experience. And once again, we can't thank Downtown Bruno enough. He's a huge part of our our thing here in Pro Wrestling Mid-South. He comes in probably every 6-8 weeks for us. And he's a member of our crew. He's a member of our family, and we're just glad that he was able to afford us that kind of opportunity.
What a career! What a career! Longevity. You got just amazing. I was queuing up at WrestleCon in New Jersey in 2013. Right, Bret Hart's promoter at the time. I think he passed away. I had a flat cap on. He goes, "Hey, Harvey Whippleman, how are you doing?" That's what he said to me as I was queuing to meet my hero, Bret Hart. But yeah, what a man, what a career, and you know him so well. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been a really great guy too. I met him, early on in my career because we're obviously in the same area. So I mean, we kind of always met each other in the past, and he's just always been a really nice guy, and we ended up becoming really good friends. And he's really helped us with Pro Wrestling Mid-South and just different things. So yeah, I mean, and obviously his relationship with The Rock, and thinking about that is he's just really genuine about that kind of stuff. I mean, the way he helped The Rock is the way he would help a lot of people. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that he finally got some recognition for just being that way, because he didn't really want the recognition or anything like that. But I mean, it was nice that people were seeing him for the nice guy that he really is.
It's so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. Honestly, it was amazing. When they were out in Hawaii years ago, for Rock's grandmother and stuff, and you were seeing just all that stuff when they were at the house at the flat, all the wrestlers, Andre, all the guys. I loved it. I had a smile on my face as I was watching it. It was that brother, that relationship, that family vibe that you got. She really did care about her talents, didn't she, when she was booking and promoting? Obviously, when High Chief passed away, of course, she took it all on, didn't she? Bless her.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is, like, I think Harvey Dan Bruno, he wanted to get Rock something for I don't remember if it was Christmas or a birthday or something like, what do you get The Rock? He's almost a billionaire. What do you get The Rock? But apparently, Bruno had an actual Polynesian Pro Wrestling T-shirt from back then. Like, they don't exist anymore, but he actually had one, and he got it to The Rock for some kind of as a gift, and The Rock framed it, and now it's up in the office. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, just the history that Bruno's been in and around. I mean, he a WWE employee for the last 40 years. I mean, so it just still still has so many stories to tell. Every time we talk, I feel like he tells me something new.
Amazing. Just I love that. I love that you got friendship, and it's cool hearing stories about him as well. And amazing. Now, through listening to you on podcasts and doing my research, I know you're into wrestling autobiographies. Which one are you on at the moment? I'm on Barry Horowitz's book, which has recently come out. I had Barry Horowitz on the show years ago. Highly recommend the book. I had Jumping Jim Brunzell on the show as well. He sent me a copy of his book. That was amazing. He didn't have to do that. But yeah, I know you're into the wrestling autobiographies. So what's the latest read? What's got you at the moment?
So I don't have as much time to read as I like. I'm on Ole's technically. I just hadn't had a chance to really haven't devoted enough time to reading it. But Ole, is one of those guys that, when I was 20 years old and I'd hear Ole Anderson talk, I'd be like, oh, he's like, people call me Grumpy Greg now. Like, okay, yeah, Ole's just, a grumpy old man kind of thing. And then as I got older, I was like, man, Ole makes a lot of sense. So I was reading his book, and it just still a lot of it still rings true. To me, my favorite autobiography is still the Gary Hart book.
I've read it. I have read it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, if you want to learn about psychology and character development and all the kind of things in professional wrestling, that is like our holy grail of wrestling autobiographies, right? And like, I bought it years and years ago. I bought it when it was like $75, and people thought I was crazy then for buying it for $75. And now it's worth like 1,000, I think, or 1,500 or something like that, because I've got it like an original copy. But like, now it's available digitally, I think, through a lot of people. But it's just one of those that just like I said, it goes through a lot of point by point, like this is why we do this, and this is how you do this, and it's just really eye opening. Two more that are obviously special to me because of the area are Jerry Jarrett's and Bill Dundee's, and they both go into psychology quite a bit. So like those are all really good ones to go with.
I read Superstar Billy Graham's while I was on vacation. I was on holiday with my wife and my son. So at night time, just to chill me out, I was reading that. I had George Animal Steele's book was really good as well, Greg. Just so many. There's so many. And going back to Gary Hart, the tone when he do the promos for talent, and that voice, the voice just so distinctive, wasn't it? I know there's a lot of facets to him as a person, but I could watch his promos all day when he's putting the talent over.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a very smart guy. I mean, if you got a mind for this business, it's fun to watch someone, put all that kind of stuff together. And him coming up with the Great Kabuki and Muda, and then Austin Idol, and like just all the different things that he helped usher in. Like he talks about, like he was the one that actually kind of started the Freebirds Von Erich thing, but like he got mad about the payoffs and had to leave, but he's the one that got it hot and left. And that's why they had that big 2-year run where they were just setting the world on fire, stuff like that. I mean, you don't hear about a lot of that kind of stuff anymore. And just like I said, I should probably do like you do and just spend a couple, about 30 minutes every night, just reading a little bit of something just to get me down. But I'm so busy. I'm rock and rolling. I wish I could sit and just read all of them because I love that information so much.
Greg, I appreciate you saying about time and, time being precious. I appreciate you coming on today. I really do. Like you saying about busyness and stuff like that. So I thoroughly, it's just great getting you on, and would love to get you on again. I saw a clip with Bobby Horn, Mo, and he was singing your praises a few months ago as a promoter, as a talent, and I thought that was nice. That was really nice. He sang your praises, and I enjoy when he puts stuff out actually on his Facebook and things like that. But yeah, he's a lot of praise for you. That man had.
Yeah, I mean, me and him, he helped when I was very early on in my career. He helped me understand the business, like the business of the business. You know what I mean? Like I was very wrestling. I understood a lot of the wrestling stuff, but he really helped me understand the politics and the business. Like I said, the business of the business, and I'll be forever in debt to him for that kind of thing. So, and we've had me and him have had our issues over the years, but like it's all water under the bridge now. Like I said, we're both older and wiser, and things of that nature. So. I wish him all the best. I know he has to deal with some health issues.
Absolutely.
And, same as I have, so I think we both kind of realize, what's actually important in life sometimes. So I just wish him all the best. And I'm glad that I have a little bit of story in his life, and he has a little bit of story in mine.
I'm glad it's come back round for you and your friends. That's nice. That's sobering to hear, man. Absolutely.
There's a lot of. I don't have a lot of people that I'm just dead set against anymore. I used to have a list. A long list, and I was probably. I'm still probably on a lot of people's list on certain things, but I've really mellowed out a lot over the last, like I said, 5-7 years, and
amazing.
I don't hold on to a lot of that anger and stuff like that anymore. So I just wish everybody the best. I just want to be able to do my thing and do what I believe is best for professional wrestling. And, hopefully we can, train this younger generation to be better than we were, you know what I mean? And that's always the goal, to leave it better than you found it. Right. So, I'm hoping that's what Pro Wrestling Mid-South ends up doing.
No, it's cool, man. It's cool to hear that. Positive. That's what it's all about. Positivity. No negativity. Let's be positive. Tomorrow's not promised, of course. So that's no, I take your outlook, and I look up to that. Absolutely. Before you go, Greg, just plug the 2 shows, obviously this Friday and Saturday. Again, before we go, I want you to plug them. And just look forward. I'm sure the fans are looking forward to both shows this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We do every every Friday night we're doing Ripley, Tennessee, and this Friday is Christmas Chaos. I'm going to be taking on Rob Danger. It's going to be a champion versus champion match. He's the Legends and Lions champion, and I'm the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion. So that's going to be a huge deal. And then Saturday night, every Saturday night we go to Dyersburg, Tennessee. There you go. Every Saturday night in Dyersburg, Tennessee. And this week is Twas the Night. Like I said, both shows are Christmas shows. So we're going to be doing Christmas giveaways, and we're going to be doing a $100 door prize and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff going on. And like I said, we do birthday parties and we do, spot shows at local high schools and things of that nature. So we're rock and rolling all the time. If you want to see family-friendly, Christian-based professional wrestling, come on down to West Tennessee.
Get yourselves out there. If you're in the vicinity, if you're in the state as well, I implore you to go and do that. Go and watch some local pro wrestling. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And I need to get to some UK-based shows because we've got a lot of good promotions over here. So in 2025, I'm going to hot foot it to some promotions over here. And not put all the money into the WWE when they come over and what have you. And AEW. Support the independents, Greg, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, for a guy like me, like I said, I make a living in professional wrestling. So, I mean, if every dollar that I get helps us keep the lights on, keep the doors open, give guys better payoffs, stuff like that helps us progress in what we're doing. So, I mean, we appreciate every dollar, so we're not saying don't watch WWE. We're not saying don't support them or AEW or anything like that, but we're saying, hey, help us out too. We got a lot of guys that are very passionate about this and are very good at this. And, we want to be, to our local fans and our local community, like, hey, we're wrestling stars too,
Absolutely. Stars of the future. That's what it's all about. That conveyor belt, more new talent coming through. That's what it's all about. That's what the business is about. Greg, thank you so much for coming on. Have a fantastic Christmas with the family as well. That's one thing I want to say to you. And all the best for the shows and the shows into January, February as well that you'll have coming up. And thank you for being a guest on the show. I will get you back on. I promise you, because there's just so many more things that we need to talk about, but obviously time constraints and what have you. But yes, my guest today, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, on episode 192 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.